Hey, this is NinjaValue here on a entirely off-scripted, which is, given my propensity for tangents, a very dangerous thing, video discussing my predictions for what's going to come in the coming years for LEGO Universe. So, and I should say this is a very, very lucrative area, the prediction business, as Master Temple will tell you. Let's miniature shout out there, just so that people ask him why I've found predictions so lucrative. Anyway, so last video I recorded, don't know if this is going to be the order I'm going to put them out in, and the hand gestures I'm doing won't come across because no video. In the last video I made, although possibly not published, it's entitled on my document here, the LEGO Universe 2019 Clickbait Series Intro. In that last video I discussed predictions for DLU and their closed base, because that's the one main event coming up, or one big event which we can expect to come up soon, which we have some relatively solid information on. Now, in that video I was discussing in quite an excited way whether or not I thought that it was going to be likely that we'd see a large increase in player numbers. I was sort of saying, yes, I think it is quite likely. Now, it did say clickbaity video. Maybe I was exaggerating that last one. I think it's the correct thing to do, and I think that coming up in the closed beta phase, there will be at some point a massive hike in player numbers, because, as I said in that video, there needs to be. So this isn't... This isn't directly contradicting that prediction. What I'm going to say is, I think had they planned, they've put out this information saying it's 2019, we're going to get closed beta out in. Now, I don't think that they would have kept quiet about the number of players entering if it was as large as 1,000, because when you're getting however many tweets a day basically saying, oh, can you give me a key? That's quite a nice way of getting them off your back, saying there are going to be 1,000 new places, because most of the people on Twitter aren't going to do the maths. So I think if they planned it, they would have said something. I can't imagine them having kept quiet about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I also realised that a lot of the developers are the sorts of people who are likely to hear me making a predictions video and then change slightly what's happening just to wind me up. So that's also something I should take into account. Maybe I write a document myself for what I think my actual predictions are and do a fake predictions video to lead them astray. Anyway, back on topic. What do I think is going to happen here? So, what's been going on with DLU at the moment is they've been in the middle of a rewrite. Last time I looked at progress, can't use the authorial plural there. Last time I looked at progress with DLU, it was when they released AI, and they had their they posted on Twitter like their Maelstrom update, and that was buggy. When I played it, I didn't play it for very long, admittedly, because I didn't have much time that day. But yeah, it was buggy. It was interesting, but hey, buggy AI is better than no AI, and a large part of what made it buggy was the fact that it was just so slow. But that's not in principle. That may actually be the reason they're doing the rewrite. I hadn't thought of that. But that's in principle, like, that's in no way a limiting factor, it being slow. So yeah, on that front, it's pretty good. Like, slow AI, even if it's average. The only question is it slow because of how they're running it and the code base they're working with to build AI on top of it, or is it slow simply because they don't have a good way of creating a nav mesh? Which is, for those who don't know, basically, you need to, your enemies need to know where they can and can't go, and it's far easier rather than trying to implement I want to go in this direction and sort of physicsy stuff, or implementing them seeing something and then somehow seeing a path to it. It's far easier just to create a mesh of, you are here, you can go to any point on this mesh, and we'll use the mesh to calculate how you get there. It means you don't have Roblox zombie style things where they just take the straight line path to you and jump if they meet an obstacle. But yes, so DLU, the last big thing they had with this NAI, now they've done a rewrite. Now, on one hand, this isn't the worst time to schedule a test if it were a normal alpha test. If it were a normal alpha test, then it would make sense to just, if you can use, in theory, the last version of the server, then people to play on, you can still be doing the rewrite whilst you put out the test. So if it's small numbers, that's perfectly fine. However, and so maybe that's what they're planning. Maybe I've read too much into all of this, but that still leaves my point about it feeling like it cheapens stuff a little bit if they, feeling like it cheapens things if they suddenly decide to add an extra stage before before open beta. Although they could do that, or they could, as I mentioned previously, use some sort of rolling start. But anyway, I think it's if they are going to, and as I say, it's the logical thing for them to do. If they were going to do something, then they'd need to get potentially a lot of work done, because you don't want to, from my experience with when LCDR switched over the network protocol, you really don't want to be testing a new, like a fundamental deep change in your code right when you add new people, because that's just asking for trouble. And so, but I don't know their old code will cope with it, because they've said themselves that's why they're doing the rewrite, so that they can expand the player base. So yeah. So my bet is, I think real life takes hold. I think they're not going to back down. They are going to technically, the closed beta will technically begin before 2020, but that doesn't mean you have to be in game. The closed beta can technically have begun, and people can still be waiting for their opportunity to play. So I think that's the most likely to happen. So similar to the alpha, I suspect, that's my first prediction, I suspect play will start probably sometime in 2020. So the next question is LCDRU. What do I think will happen with that? Obviously, I have something of an inside perspective in it, but on the other hand, I don't know, I don't have as much of an inside perspective as one might think. I don't know precisely when LCDR is working on code, what code he's working on. I do play it, but that doesn't show me a lot of the back-end stuff, so maybe not as inside a perspective as one might think. So my thoughts, and I should say my thoughts here are spoken as a fan of LCDRU, they're not spoken as a moderator. I may use some information I have as a moderator, but nothing that's confidential in any way, I hope, certainly. Yeah, so what do I think is going to happen next? Well, one of the big things we wanted to avoid was this idea of over-promising, because there were quite a few people complaining with the Alpha 2 delays for DLU, and we really wanted to avoid that. So I can guarantee, pretty much, you won't be seeing a closed beta come from LCDR anytime soon. Alpha 2, so what do I think is going to happen in the next year? I don't think we'll have an Alpha 2. I think there'll be developments in code and maybe implement new features, although probably focus on stability. But I think Alpha 2 won't. I don't think Alpha 2 will happen next year. I've noticed that the universe community sort of goes in oscillates between big years and not big years. I suspect the beginning of 2020 will be big, simply because you're getting people in closed beta testing. There'll be some hype there. That would die out. I don't think there'll be much until the end. There'll be much even up until the end of 2020, just based on general trends. But I would expect LCDR to try and get new people in at some point. It won't be a new alpha phase, but it'll be just, maybe we'd call it alpha 1.2. They're just pulling more people into the testing phase who want to. Hopefully stability will increase. I've got some stuff planned as a moderator for whenever this does happen, and some games, etc. Woo, fun! Ninja's got games, yay! I can hear you all screaming now at your computers at home, just hoping you'll be one of the lucky few. But yes, so prediction for LCDRU, I don't think we'll enter the next alpha phase. I think we'll be way too cautious for that. I think, and to clarify, when I'm talking about being cautious, this isn't me dissing DLU. It's more, I don't know, it's just personality-wise. It's in the same way different projects have slightly different. I think different projects do have different personalities in many ways. Like, there are different things that make them what they are. LCDRU, for instance, is far more lax in terms of chat restrictions and censorship than... Oh god, censorship sounds bad. There's no way I can say this that doesn't make it sound like I'm dissing DLU, but I promise I'm not. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think LCDRU... it will be late 2020 if it is, or it will be sometime in 2021, continuing with that theme of activity oscillating in the years. So yeah, big events that I'm hoping for. So I suspect, yeah, the main thing I'm hoping might happen at some point is that. So, for those of you who don't know, Rain is working on LUJS, and this is a potentially very moddable server. She's also working on a mod patcher. So, what I'm hoping happens sometime in 2020, although I suspect it may be in 2021 before it happens, is that we get some progress on those, because at the moment, okay, I have a very personal reason to want this, because at the moment I have like 4 or 5 LCDR unpacked clients sitting around with just different mods I've just tinkered together, and I don't know precisely which files I've tinkered with because I can't remember on each one, and each one takes up about 10 gigabytes. I've got 5 of them. That takes up roughly a tenth of my disk space, and I've only got a few gigabytes left at the moment. So yeah, I've got a very personal reason for wanting the mod launcher, the mod patcher rather, to come in soon. But yeah, so, big prediction. Do I think that's going to happen next year? I don't. I really want it to. I would love it if it did, but I don't think it will. I mean, to clarify, LUJS, I think it's public. I'm pretty certain Rain's got it in a public repository in GitHub. But I mean, will something be done with it? Because I think sometime soon, before the release of LCDRU and DLU, we are going to have a public server which comes out, which hopefully is run better than previous servers which have gone downhill for various reasons. We're moving swiftly over that. Yeah, I hope something. Yeah, I hope it goes well. So I think that will be coming out. I think that will be coming out in 2021. If LUJS is stable, and it depends on what the code looks like. Because if the code makes it easy for people to mod it, then there's a fair chance people are going to. Yeah, if it's easy to mod and host, and if the mod patcher comes out. The mod patcher is the one thing I'm really hoping for, because for those of you who haven't seen some of my posts on DLU forums, I've spent a lot of time basically looking at what can we mod into the game? What is possible to mod in? I mentioned last time that DLU have some very good people. Some people who are very good at modding. I'm not talking about Avery Summer doing this. Sorry, that sounds like I'm saying he's not good at modding. I'm not talking about people who are very good at modding like Avery. What I'm talking about is, when is there going to be? Because at some point there's going to be a miniature, I suspect anyway, there's going to be a miniature mod revolution when people suddenly start realising, hey, we can mod our clients. It's going to be about the same time that servers start adding in security against speed hacks, mostly, because speed hacks aren't too difficult. So, yeah, that's going to need to happen. Although, yeah, that's something that should happen very late, because quite honestly, if you want to hack a server, you can set a server up. It's not that you can fly around in uni. Like, that's not too much of a problem. So people are only going to be playing if they want the original experience, and if they want the original experience, they're not going to want to hack. But I do expect mods will be coming. I honestly, I expect it will take probably. So one of the big things with predicting when this public server will happen, it will. I bet it will happen. If it doesn't, I will set one up just to make the prediction true. The only trouble is hosting. And you need to have someone who's simultaneously got the capacity to host, which means younger members of the community just probably won't be able to get their parents to let them open their ports on the router to port forwarding. So that rules out a lot of people. But at the same time, you've got people who aren't too cynical and jaded, in fairness, like me, a lot of the time, but most longer-standing members of the community have seen what happens to public servers a lot of the time, and won't be particularly for that. So, there are still quite a few people who could do it, but we'll find out whether or not it happens. That's the big thing. I don't mind too much about whether or not we get LUJS. I'm waiting for the mod patcher, and I suspect once we get the mod patcher, someone will bring out a public server. Not a new one, but just host it. Someone will host one so that people can do stuff with mods and do mod interactions with the server. And so that will be coming. I've got to place a bet for the date. I don't think it'll be 2020. I think because we've got experience with LUPVP, what happens to projects run by DLU devs, and DLU takes priority most of the time because most people in the community want it to. So I don't know how long it will. It might be a little while until we get the mod patcher from Rain. I suspect it won't. So my prediction won't happen in 2020. If it happens, something should have happened by 2021 on the front of modding. If nothing else, it will be Simon from, I nearly said LEGO Universe Reborn, no, Operation Crux. Because he's working on an FDB writer, it wouldn't necessarily manage mods, but that's what you need to access the database. And to not access it, at the moment, we can go into the binary hexadecimal files using a hex editor and read it and edit the text. There's a video on my channel of me with a shiny shield, which was done by going into the render settings for a certain object and mucking around with those in the database. So you can do it by hand, but it's really difficult. And you can do it by code, but it's really difficult to add things like rows to it. So it's fine to edit items, really hard to add new items. So yeah, that could be a problem coming up. Do I think any other major? So that should be coming up in 2021. We've got OpCrux. What will happen with OpCrux, and what will happen with all the currently developed public servers? So at the moment, most of the public servers aren't really being developed, other than Uchu, which I still see Yui, I don't know how you pronounce it, and Vincent discussing on the development chat from time to time. That's the main actively developed one and LUJS. So what do I think will happen with those? I think much of the same. I think everyone agrees there's not really a major chance that a public server is going to win the race right now. I wish it were true. The closest we're going to get to a public server winning the race is LCDRU winning the race, and he has said there is a chance. He has not said it will happen. Do not start sending him messages asking to release LCDRU. I'm pointing at the screen now in a teleophy way. You can't see it, but imagine me doing it. You don't know what I look like, but imagine yourself doing it. You're looking very sternly at the screen like that Spider-Man pointing at one another meme. And don't send him messages, because it won't happen for ages. He said when it completes, maybe several years after it completes, he may consider releasing it, but it's not yeah, it's not something I would be in any way. Sorry, I was very quiet for a second, so I thought I heard walking downstairs. I'm in an Airbnb, and no one should have walked in the door. There's no one due to be in here today. Weird. If you hear me die, please call the police. But yeah. Oh God, completely lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? I just did Uchu, and I don't think that's going anywhere. LUJS. I'm gonna just hope I come back onto whatever point I was talking about. Uchu, don't think it's going anywhere. LUJS. I think it might happen. I don't think it will happen anytime soon. It's really bugging me now. I stopped to listen to that noise and I cannot remember what I was talking about. Uchu, LUJS. There is, if something else happens, Willis is no longer being actively worked on, and I believe Wesley stated that Wes CDM, CDM, okay, I don't know, has stated that if I'm now getting confused with CDM pants, he stated that if he works on another server, he'd want to rewrite it in C, in one of the C languages. Oh, and the thing I was saying before was about LCDR and the public server thing. He said conditionally on basically everything going well, him getting the server out, and maybe several years after he releases the server, he might, he gets the server up and running, he might release files, but it's a huge might, and that was several years ago. There have been a lot more public projects since then, and there's potentially a lot of reason for him to change his mind. So that's because a lot of the devs are relatively worried, because what happens if there is a public server that starts doing bad stuff, like stuff that could get us noticed by LEGO? It tends not to be so much of a problem in releasing small public servers. So if I want to release one for, that wouldn't be a public server, would it? It'd be a private server. If I want to release one for me and a couple of my friends, that's fine. I can put up JList or something and run one. That's not too bad. But if it starts being anyone on the internet can access it and play it, and that's, I think, the crucial dividing line. It's when a kid could just randomly join it. Then you start getting legal problems, and there's the chance LEGO could shut us down, and LCDR doesn't want to be responsible for potentially someone being stupid and getting all LEGO Universe projects shut down. Because think about we'd be disappointed if that happened. We'd be disappointed. Think about what that would mean for a developer who has spent years working on this project, and just to see suddenly LEGO come in and shut it down. Like, I think, if nothing else explains why people don't go public, that's a pretty good reason. Okay. So then there's the question of, Opcrux. I have no idea. I love the stuff I see them come out with. If you're not on the Opcrux Discord, you should Google it, because I'm lazy and will probably forget to put the link in the description. But I'll try to remember, but I probably won't. Yeah, if you find Simon's YouTube channel, because he just posts tiny videos of just stuff, just random stuff, but generally when it goes wrong or something, it's funny. There's a flying cow in one of them, and in one of them he tests AI in inverted commas, which is basically, I'm pretty certain all of the enemies from Avant Gardens spawned into the launch on the AG launch pad, and just moving without rotation or anything. I think they may be, I think they're playing HD, just idle animations, just moving in a circle. Don't know what it is, but it is truly beautiful. It almost matches James's Maud video. Anyway, so yeah, Opcrux, I truly have no idea where the development is. The thing about them is, although because of LUR and everyone knows, well, not everyone, but a lot of people still know them as the LUR group, they're regarded as not in the running, and they may not be in the main runnings, but I think people would be surprised by how good they are at what they do. They are very good, very knowledgeable, and they have contributed. A huge shout out to Simon, because he's contributed a lot to our understanding of packets. etc. And just what their contents are. I've seen a lot of stuff in the Google Docs, which has been primarily, or a lot of stuff in the Google Docs has been contributed by him. DLU tend not to. I haven't seen them do too much with updating information on the docs. Sorry, to clarify, the docs development documentation. But LCDR and Simon, would seem to be very interested in adding to it. I could be maybe not seeing when it's added to, because I'm not the most active person. Maybe I'm totally misrepresenting the work, but I don't know. This is just disclaimer. I may be incorrect about everything I say. So yes, and the big question, when do I think will be your first chance to play LEGO Universe? Now, it's really, really easy to put the bet on the wrong place here. So just thinking about timescales, it was a year or so from when I joined the community about Alpha 1 to when we actually started getting to play in Alpha 2, and we still haven't played much in Alpha 2. As a community, we didn't think it would be that long between them. We thought it would be pretty close. And so I'm thinking, basically, whatever time frame I think, I need to double it. Now, this could be, oh no, but, sorry, that's doubling it for a release. And so, well, no, it's doubling it for anything, but I'm currently thinking about a release in my head. You didn't know that, though. Well, maybe you did. Maybe you've got some cool mind reading tech there. But yeah, so I would suspect, yeah, I would have guessed instinctively we'd have a release in 2021. By my doubling rule, that means we'll probably have a full release of a game in 2023. I suspect an open beta from DLU, we're talking 2021, 2022. Obviously, I'm just aiming to do predictions for the next year, so I'm going over my allotted timescale. But yeah, I don't think, and yeah, next year, an LCDRU, I really have no idea. DLU, I can sort of stand back as a passive observer, and say, and just make a guess as a member of the community. With LCDRU, I almost have too much information. Like, there are so many things I'd want to take into account, including the fact that I will, whether or not LCDR likes it, I will lend my very valuable, truly valuable opinions, which it's very lucky to get. Yeah, in other words, I talk nonsense most of the time. But yeah, I will throw in my also. I couldn't guess LCDR. I genuinely couldn't. But yeah, so I think as members of the community, we're all. I stand by this from my previous video. The odds of playing it are so much better now than they have been for years, and the odds of us just getting a community where it's an actual gaming community rather than a waiting community. Once we pass a certain threshold of people being in the game and game stability, it won't be that way anymore. I think even people who aren't in the game, if we have a saturation of maybe 5% to 10% of players being in the game, the second that happens, suddenly I think the community will shift, and there'll be a lot more of watching videos and getting excited, because the end will finally be in sight. So it's gonna be a good time. And yeah, maybe my predictions on all this is my predictions on all these things are completely and utterly off. I don't know, but I've now ranted at you for half an hour, less than that if you take into account cuts by this point. But I think that's enough for me. Ask me any questions you've got in the bottom, because I'll put out a sequel to this if you have any challenges for what's happening. Could I tell you what Quintuple F Player 1's profile picture will be in that amount of time? I have no idea. But, as always, thank you for listening. I would say you've been a great audience, but I currently just have a black screen. Well, no, I've got 2 black screens because of OBS. Thank you very much for listening. Leave a like and subscribe to the developers of the projects, their YouTube channels if you're new to this channel, and so long.